and he's still doing a lot of great work here for UND. And so we pitched this idea and it was received okay, but it ended up being one of the proudest accomplishments of my career. For the past 11 seasons, UND hockey fans have been treated to unmatched access to the best college hockey program in the country when tuning in on Thursday nights. 11 seasons is insane to me. I worked on 4, which means that for 7 more years, interns, students, and staff picked up the reins of that show and kept it going to inspire hockey fans all around the country and North America. The show reached notoriety throughout hockey and spurred a new model for connecting with sports fans. I worked in the American Hockey League for a couple of years, and I can't tell you how many times I ran into a player who knew what Through These Doors was and brought it up because I talked about my time at UND. So fast forward 3 years later, I'm grinding, as I said, in the American Hockey League. I'm working for a team that recently began in a small market, and it is not going well. I hated it. I'm working 12-hour Saturdays. I'm working every day of the week. And I'm looking at the NHL's social media and I'm thinking, this is good, but I could do all of this. I could maybe even improve it a little bit. I'm going to find the poor bastard on LinkedIn who has the title of head of social media for the NHL. And I sent him about 1 message every week until he decided to meet with me for coffee. I applied to 3 different positions for the NHL, and each time I was told, you could do this job, you'd be okay at it, but coming up, there's an opening that you'd be perfect for. So I waited around, I paid my dues for a little bit longer, and soon enough, I was made the social media marketing manager at the NHL. We'll get into a little bit about what that title means, because honestly, sometimes titles know how the story goes though. In March of 2020, all professional sports in the world were shut down. For the first time, I didn't have any new sport to watch on ESPN. It was the first time in my life that we were in a position like that. So the NHL paused its season just before the Stanley Cup playoffs. Now, if we don't finish out the season, we owe broadcasters hundreds of millions of dollars. In the words of Gary Bettman, you don't come back from that. They put together a genius plan to finish the season and the playoffs out in 2 separate bubble cities, in Edmonton, Alberta, and Toronto, Canada. Now, because I had had experience with the camera, they asked me to go to the Edmonton bubble. And that was a little bit tough. But as I mentioned before, I had a policy of never turning down an opportunity. So I jumped at it, even though they were saying, we don't know exactly when you're coming back, but enjoy. So this was literally the setting that I faced every single day. I would start my day in my hotel room and I would walk through these fenced in corridors to the arena. We weren't allowed to have contact with any outsiders or any fans, of course. And it really was about protecting the environment and making sure that we could finish this out and keep the league alive. Now, this was the hardest I've ever worked in my career. At UND, I was used to doing back-to-backs. In the AHL, I was, like I said, I was working long days every single day, but I was working 3 games every single day at the start of the playoffs. I was exhausted, and you had to take some time to find those nice little moments when you could, this being one of them. I made an appearance on a national broadcast, which isn't always a great thing, especially this time because I took a slap shot from Mark Stone to the chest. See that little hole in front of me? The puck went perfectly right through the little hole, and I got my claim to fame just from that. The goaltender came over to check on me though, so it was okay. Referee gets out of the way, and yeah. What are the odds? So I'm sure you can imagine that after 2.5 months, we had to find our ways to kick back and kind of celebrate. It was one of the coolest experiences of my entire life. I got to be present when the Stanley Cup was presented, and I got drenched in champagne. I also did a little bit of drinking myself, not too much. Oops, how did that get in there? So that was a long way of saying that I got a great opportunity that isn't actually part of my job title. On a daily basis, and especially right now as we approach the 2022 Stanley Cup playoffs, It's my job on a daily basis to work with our rights holders, our broadcasters, ESPN, TNT, who are brand new, as well as Sportsnet up in Canada. And my goal is to find creative and engaging ways on social media to spread the tune-in message whenever we have a national broadcast. Now, I'm not driving fans to Bally Sports North because that's a regional. What I mean is, like, when you see it on ABC or TNT or ESPN Plus, we need you to watch or else I don't get paid. So here are some ways that we go about that.
Four nothing in favor of Montreal Stanley. Won the Stanley Cup. 4-0.
The New York Rangers are the Stanley Cup champions. And after 22 years, it's over. The Chicago Blackhawks' long term is over.
It is now my privilege and responsibility to present to the winning team the Stanley Cup, emblematic of the World Championship.
So that's particularly one of the most fun pieces of work I've ever had the chance to write. I spent weeks, actually months, working with a visual designer to complete that and work through the script, abide by the NHL's brand guidelines. We spent $30,000 on this spot, and the day it was released, it absolutely flopped. It was one of the poorest performing pieces of content we've had. And right there, it kind of switched something for me in my brain. I came from doing long form content such as Through These Doors, which was received very well, and it really told a great story. And that's all I was trying to do here. Moving forward, though, I have shifted my thinking to spread that budget out, increase the volume of content, therefore increasing the spread of the message and driving engagement and viewership to your content upwards. So now I get to work on really cool things like this. My life revolves around GIFs that go on Twitter, short consumable videos on Instagram, like this rotoscope work. And the bracket challenge illustration that's not quite completed yet. You're going to see it go live on the NHL's Instagram next Saturday when the bracket challenge opens up. Shameless plug right there. Go and participate for that, please. And one of the best parts about this is I get to work with artists and illustrators and video editors around the world, really. And I mean around the world. I've reached out to people in Portugal and in Malaysia to help us do some creative work. And I get to help start up some of these businesses that young, talented people are just getting going. It's the start of the rest of my career, it kind of feels like. And I believe now we're going to try to open it up to some questions, right, Dr. Lee? Good for questions? Anybody with questions about this or how to fake it like I did? Sure. Absolutely. That's a great question. So it was about how far in advance do you schedule out this stuff or plan the concepts behind this? It's really a rolling basis. Social media is best in its authenticity and organic nature. So you need to be reactive. To break down how the NHL works a little bit, we have a team in Toronto who's watching every single game every single night. They're cutting highlights of everything you might want to see on social media, and they're posting it in real time. So we're very reactive. But for projects like this, as I mentioned, it begins months in advance. I'm working on ideas and scripts that won't get shot until September, but won't air until January of next year. And so when it comes to content, it's a rolling basis, really. And you never know exactly when you're going to have the opportunity to jump on something really cool. When it comes to strategies, I would say it's every off season when we have a time to catch up and breathe. Yeah. Anyone else? Oh, that's a great point. Everybody knows it's already in TikTok. The 20-somethings in my department have TikTok brainstorms, and they intentionally don't invite me because I'm now too old. It's hard for me to judge that. I think that live is only going to go up. I think that what's a little bit undetermined is how people react to highly produced content like this. I spent all that time and all that money on that spot, and it didn't perform nearly as well as cell phone video, sometimes does. It's really, this kind of sounds sad, but it's at the direction of the platforms themselves. It really is going to be in response to technology that comes about. Another plug for communications because it is so flexible and adaptive. Man, you guys are throwing the hard ones at me. That's also tough to say. We are focused on a certain set of metrics, and it's really internalized based on how our content is already performing to our own audience. It depends really on what your objective is. Are we driving enough clicks to a link? Are people watching this more than 3 seconds? I'm not kidding you, and some of you may already know this, but you'll pay for a certain number of 3-second watches of a video. Now, some platforms don't always judge that in the same way. So it really, it depends on the platform, your objective, and the metrics that are being used. I would say Instagram. Yeah. But again, it depends on the type of content you're using. On Twitter, we can put out will the Leafs make it past the first round? And that, I'm sure you can imagine, that will garner a ton of engagement from Leafs fans and Leafs haters. But on Instagram, it's really about the different form of content that you try to serve. It's funny how every couple of months the platforms change the algorithm so that it best serves different kinds of content. This video that you're watching here was done in reaction to a popularity of 5 to 7 second videos. But now we're seeing that Instagram Reels are really going hot, and that's at the direction of Instagram itself telling us, keep using this feature. We're going to be promoting it. So we have kind of an inside track to that sometimes. And then on TikTok, it's all about dogs. Everybody knows. More dogs. Curiosity. It would be so easy for me to fall back into the old man shaking his fist at the clouds, but really, I just want to know, what's coming next. I don't know how this can apply to everybody here, but for me, at least, it's curiosity. I want to know what's popular about these things. I've posted one video to my own personal TikTok. It was some work that I shot. And I consider myself a really talented video editor, and I still can't line up the goddamn music to the video on that platform, and I'm still working on it. So really, it's just about curiosity and driving yourself to learn that next step. Experience, yeah. As I mentioned, I was never a top tier student, but I kept going. I kept my head above water at least. But I also surrounded myself with internship opportunities, which kept me meeting the right people. And I took chances. When I left UND, I took the worst job I've ever had as an account executive, making 80 phone calls a day. It was something that I was not passionate about. I was not good at it because I had to ask people for money, which is just, I'm never comfortable with that. But it at least got me in the right region. And so when a job came open in the American Hockey League to start up a new team, I was nearby. And I had known someone from UND who was working in that league, and they recommended me for the position. So I made it quite easy on the employer to bring me on. They didn't have to pay for me to move out there. Now that's not everybody can do that, but in my specific case, that made it easy for them to hire me because I had made myself available through experience and networking. Any others? I don't want to say drinking, but no, I try to seek more inspiration. And I've really gotten past the point of taking it too hard. You're never going to please everyone on social media. I had an illustration that went out last Saturday that we had to pull in 2 hours of its publishing because of the reaction to the actual piece of art that I just didn't see coming. And you've really got to have a short memory. You've got to move on to the next piece. And if you're in the right position, there will always be a next piece to be working on.
How attuned are you and your positions in the population? Facebook for the older NHL crowd and
Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of demographics that you can see on the back end, but also a lot of it is instinct as well, too. Like you said, I mean, even Facebook is for an older demographic. TikTok, I don't even have the opportunity to work on TikTok. As I said, they're leaving me out of the meetings now. But it's a lot of instinct based on metrics that you get to see on a regular basis. Yeah. Well, I want to leave you with the opportunity to come up and speak to me after the event, or even reach out. As I said, I got the coolest job I ever thought I could get just by being really annoying on social media. I make it a point to respond as best as I can. There's actually a few people here who I owe a response to on LinkedIn, and I apologize for that, but I will get back to you. But don't hesitate to ever reach out. I'm proud to help anyone from UND or anyone with just a passion for this career. So thank you very much for having me.
The current communication student panel session. My name is Leah Brewer, and I'm one of the campaign coordinators that helped plan this event for the communication department. I will be the moderator for this session. In this session, myself and 4 current communication students will be discussing the importance of a communication degree. Each student on this panel is majoring in communication and is either a junior or senior. Every one of them has different experiences and is specializing in different areas of communication. After each student presents, there will be a Q&A session. So please hold your questions for the end. Let's go ahead and get started. The first student on the panel is Dryden, a senior majoring in communication.
How's it going? I'm Dryden Dragich, and today I'm going to be talking about the value of a communication degree. I'm going to start off by telling you a little bit about myself. I am from East Grand Forks, Minnesota, the good side of the river. I'm a senior here at UND, majoring in communication, and I'm graduating in May with a bachelor's in communication and 5 different communication certificates. So today, I decided to talk about the 3 experiences that I've had the opportunity to have at UND. The first is Comm 40 ad PR campaigns, a class I had with Dr. Lee. The second is the communication department social media coordinator internship I had last semester. And lastly is the UND insider internship I've had this year. Where do you go next? This one? There we go. All right, so firstly, I'm going to talk about the class Comm 430 ad PR campaigns I had with Dr. Lee. In this class, we had a big group of students around 20, 25, and we split up into 4 different teams. I was named the associate director or assistant director of the media strategy group. In the media strategy group, we controlled the budget for the social media posts, planned out all the posts, and did the actual posting of the content. But I guess before we decided to post all that stuff and how we decided to post stuff, we went through and did surveys with all different students throughout the communication department and at UND. And we also did face-to-face interviews with different students just to kind of get a feel of what they see on social media and what they want to see on social media, so we could then present that to the owner of the company we worked for, the Smiling Moose. And we presented that information to her so she could pick out what she liked, picked out what she didn't like, and we can go on there and, you know, make a campaign plan. And after we followed through with our campaign, we gathered all the insights and presented to the client, I guess, just how well we did. The second experience I'm going to talk about is the social media internship I had with the communication department. I was the coordinator for the social media department, so I ran all the social media pages that the communication department has. This entailed 2 posts a week that were spotlight posts on an alumni and a student. So I'd have to reach out to current students and alumni to get information on them about their post, and then come up with a post and get it approved 2 days in advance before we put them out. And then the third post for the week I would make is just some random post of something that was going on around campus. So I would try to connect with local businesses. I did a giveaway with Deeks and just usually spotlighted different opportunities and stuff that were going on around UND. And lastly, my UND Insider internship. I've had the pleasure to work with, you know, many great people during this internship. For one, obviously, Peter talked about it before, but Through These Doors, it was my first year working on Through These Doors, and Midco Sports actually picked up doing Through These Doors this year. So I got to go over and work with them every week and kind of see how they got to go about making a show, which was really cool. Another opportunity I had with this internship is working for CBS Sports when they came to town for the UND hockey game, and also working for Baylee Sports when we would have to produce games. And I guess just other things with this internship is I've made around 25 videos this semester for different UND sports pages. And I guess just through this, it's kind of helped me find my passion, what I like doing with sports, and kind of where I want to go with my career. And then I guess just to sum it up, the value of a communication degree is, you know, the experiences that you can take advantage of, the people that you get to meet, the professors and the students that you go to school with, and then just the endless opportunities in school and after school you have with a communication degree. That's my presentation.
The next student on the panel is Myra, a junior majoring in communication and English.
As Leah said, my name is Myra Henderson. I am a third-year student majoring in communication and English. So why did I choose communication? I came to UND interested in working in the publishing industry as a career. Though that slightly changed, it is what guided me at the beginning of my time here. At that time, it made sense to major in English, so I started with just one major. I then became familiar with the certification programs that UND had to offer and added a writing and editing certificate for obvious reasons, and also a French certificate. I took 4 years of French in high school, and so I continued that here at UND. And then I was just talking with a lot of my mentors, professors on campus, trusted adults in my life, and I felt that there was more that I could be doing with my time. I took a lot of advanced English classes in high school, so I was on track to graduate early, and I really wanted to optimize my time here at UND. So I consulted with my advisor on what I could add to my educational plate, for lack of better words, and learned the benefits of adding a communications major, and learned that a lot of students who are interested in the path that I was interested in, being publishing, added a communication major. So I added that major at the end of my second semester here at UND, so during my first year. And I was already enrolled in a introductory comm class at the time, so I had an idea of what I was getting involved in, and it was something that I felt comfortable and excited to go on a journey for during my time here. More specifically, some of the reasons that I decided to add my communication major were to learn about and implement different technologies into my expertise, to learn researched and effective communication approaches in preparation to enter the workplace, and to diversify my educational background and career opportunities, all of which are pretty self-explanatory, but I'll explain a little bit more as I go on here. So some of the classes I've taken and am currently are currently taking, I took Digital Communication Fundamentals, which was a class working with Adobe Illustrator. I was also later a teaching assistant for this class. Interpersonal Communication, Persuasion, Digital Imaging across platforms, which worked with Adobe Photoshop, Content Creation for Social Media, and I'm currently taking a special topics course in Dark Communication on bullying, gossiping, and coercion. As you can see, some of these classes obviously work with different technologies and platforms that you might not get in your traditional education. So this was really a time for me to optimize my education and what I wanted to, one of my goals that I just mentioned being to become more proficient in different technologies outside of, Office 365 like you learn in college. So that brings me to how I'm currently implementing my communication major. I am currently a volunteer for Floodwall, which, if you're not familiar with that, is UND's student-run literary magazine. I am also currently conducting my internship credit for the Comm department through working for Floodwall or volunteering. I have worked in positions as the social media editor, which is what I currently am doing for my internship. I have been a co-section editor for fiction for 2 semesters, and I have served as a copy editor for more semesters than that. I really enjoy all of these things, and it was an opportunity that came about at a very good time when I was interested in publishing, and gave me an opportunity that I might not have otherwise had at a different university, or if I hadn't had the education and expertise that I was getting here from both of my departments and majors. With that, I was recently promoted to assistant managing editor, which I'll get into a little bit more about what I do in that position. But my work in Floodwall has really been a place to combine my English education as well as my communication education, which I'll get into here on the next slide. Like I said, I was recently promoted to assistant managing editor. And so with that, I assist in all of the tasks below up there. I help in overseeing the entire publication process. So we start with promotion and outreach to students to let them know that an upcoming issue is coming, usually for a few weeks before a call for submission occurs. And then I help in initiating correspondence with all volunteers. This looks pretty much the same every semester. There are fiction, creative nonfiction, poetry, and photography and art categories that we accept submissions in. So I help in creating correspondence with all of the section editor or editors for those sections, and then all of the students who are volunteers below those editors. And the numbers vary each semester, but that looks about the same. I also help create and manage digital files, which mostly occurs in Office 365, but then it goes into Adobe Illustrator, which is where my knowledge of other technologies comes in. I also have had the opportunity to help write templated accept and decline emails, which is definitely something I never thought I would do and has been a great learning experience. I also, again, assist in the layout of the publication using Adobe's Creative Suite. So that's been a really prime area of where I've been able to implement firsthand what I've learned in theory and practice in my comm classes into practice. Another big part of my job a part of Floodwall is to optimize interdisciplinary efforts. So I am combining really firsthand all that I'm learning in my communication classes in with my English knowledge, and also just working across different departments, different colleges, trying to encourage other students to submit their work outside of traditional, academia. And then I guess that brings me to how I plan to use my communication major in the future. I will become managing editor of Floodwall next semester, so I will no longer just be assisting. I will be overseeing the entire process and running the organization alongside our faculty mentor. And then I plan to graduate in 4 years, so I'll graduate next year. And then I am seeking graduate studies, so I plan to get an MA and a PhD. And my ultimate goal is to teach at the collegiate level, and then obviously we'll be able to implement my learned goals, whether that be with the different technologies that I've mentioned, but also working with other students and faculty and staff and coworkers to help really put firsthand those communication techniques that I've learned in my major. And that's all I have. Thank you for listening.
The third student on the panel is Alex, a senior majoring in communication.
So like she said, my name's Alex. I am a senior here in the communications. So a bit about me, like I said, I'm a senior. My interests are kind of in the strategic communication side of the communications department. Advertising is really where I kind of took a liking. I also really like doing the research in it. I really like to kind of like break down like data points, seeing like how people reacted to certain advertisements, seeing the effects they have, kind of the outreach, what people really like to do. Some of my favorite experiences here at UND, I've taken a lot of the different classes we offer here in the communications department. I've taken in a lot of different like areas, which is kind of how I figured out I liked that advertising research side of it. I've taken a few classes in like the design side, which I'm admittedly not great at, but I tried. I really enjoyed the research that I worked a lot with Dr. Lee on some projects and in a lot of the courses. I was a teaching assistant for him in our capstone class, Comm 410, which I really enjoyed doing. I really enjoyed working with different students, kind of going in with them on the things that I was good at. I really like surveys, so I enjoyed helping people kind of figure out how to lay them out, working Qualtrics, which is the one I really enjoyed. And then I also was a research assistant for Dr. Lee, where I worked on gaining various different information on some different communication departments and kind of learning a lot about other schools. Some reasons I like communications is the variety we offer. Like we said, you can go into almost any different field. Like you can be a journalist, you can go into like advertising side, like I enjoy doing. You're able to go into a lot of different fields, which I think is really important. And it really gives people like, you're able to like go into the communication department, but you're also able to kind of figure out what you really like doing. And then like a lot of people say, the professors, we have great professors here in our department. They're supportive, encouraging, and it seems like whenever I email them, they're always able to talk. And then we offer a lot of the extracurricular activities, kind of like the advertising club. I know we have a PR club that we offer out here. So you're really able to get into a lot of different areas. And then for the importance of communication, like I've said a couple times already, the variability. We're in almost every business. We're able to get jobs pretty much anywhere. And with the rise of social media, we have a lot of classes on like the educating, how to write news, content creation, and kind of like how you switch up, like for journalism, how you switch from news writing on like say like a newspaper, how you translate that to short form, or how you make content creation a little bit different versus social media, like the short clips. Another thing that I did, I talked to one of the former heads of PR at 3M. I had a really long conversation with her about kind of what she does and how she works with journalists, how she works with potential sponsors that 3M works with. And then the other side of it, how she works with crisis management, how when they had that water dump, the containment with their water, how she kind of had to handle that step by step. And it was really interesting. And then in my area, that communication with, I want to go into something kind of like PR or advertising. I want to kind of speak a lot with the public. So how much of an impact that effective communication has with us. Thank you.
The next student on the panel is Baylee, a junior majoring in communication.
Hello, everyone. My name is Baylee. I'm a junior communications student, and I'm from Apple Valley, Minnesota. All right, so why a communication degree? I initially started as a business economics major at the business school. After taking a few courses there, I decided that that wasn't really my speed. I wasn't really interested in all the different courses that you have to take along with a business degree. So I switched over to a communications major because the class content at the business school wasn't right for me. I found that the communication courses were more relevant to what I wanted to do. Beginning in freshman and sophomore year, I really didn't know what I wanted to get into, and still, I'm not sure with that. But some specific areas that I'm interested in right now include event management, sports communication, as well as public relations. Why communications degree? It allows you to tailor your education to exactly what you're interested in. So like I said earlier, if you're not really sure about what you want to get into right away, this degree offers a lot of flexibility in what you want to do. It allows you to try different things, as well as the certificates that the program offers. I'm getting a certificate in digital production for media industries, as well as conflict mediation, and working toward one in sports communication. And a lot of these just happen with the classes that you take. I got an email from my advisor saying that I took the right courses to get the digital production certificate. So you can take certain classes and build up a lot of different certificates. And I think that that's a unique opportunity that can set you apart in interviews, as well as to set you apart from other competitors for a job. What have I used my skills so far? So I was able to make promotional videos for my sorority. I'm a member of Delta Gamma. For the past few years, because of COVID, our recruitment has been a little bit different. So we've had to make more informational videos to do with that. And I learned those skills in Comm 339. This past year in 2021, I was the chapter president, and I learned a lot of useful communication skills within the classes that I took through the Comm department in that position, learning how to effectively communicate to the members what they need to know and when they need to know it. And also being able to problem solve quickly. I've also learned that in my classes. I've also added a minor in leadership, and I think that that will be helpful to help me, work higher in a specific company, or just another thing to diversify me from other people in the interview process. Some examples of communication courses. I've really enjoyed the audio production and digital video production courses. In these courses, you work with the Adobe programs. So I worked with Adobe Premiere Pro for the video production class. And like I said earlier, it helped me gain the skills that I needed to make those promotional videos, as well as the Comm 319 and 206, which is also programs through the Adobe suite. Again, just being able to put that on your resume that you are proficient in those programs can help you. Thank you.
It is now time for the Q&A session. So if you have any questions for the panel, please feel free to ask those questions right now.
I guess personally for me, you can see the rise of social media, I guess, already. I don't see that slowing down anytime soon. So I guess just continuing to work with social media and how social media has been able to use, I guess, their platform basically for marketing. So I guess just continuing to work with social media and building on the intricacies of those, I think, is how I'm going to use my degree.
I can speak a little bit past 10 years because I'll probably be in school for that long. But I foresee, as I mentioned when I was up at the podium, that in the context of leading a classroom and being part of a department to work with other faculty and staff, I really foresee that my knowledge of communication and working with others will be a prime area to implement what I've learned in theory and put it into practice and help communicate effectively between those areas.
For me, I really want to kind of, after speaking with the head of PR at 3M, it really kind of showed me something I really didn't know I was super interested in, but I kind of want to move toward a larger company and see what I can do with climbing up to possibly somewhere around the head of a PR or something that has a large management under them and has to kind of juggle a bunch of different tasks. So that's something I really am interested in.
I think for me, I'm working toward my 4-year degree right now, but it's something that I think is cool about UND's program is that now they're going to offer the 4+1, so you can get your master's as well as you can look into getting your doctorate degree. So if I go out into the job field and I see that I should get more education, that UND has that opportunity for me.
Any other questions? While you were thinking of questions, I have a few questions for the panel. How are you, or are you involved in any clubs or organizations on campus? If so, which ones?
I'm an intern with UND Insider. That's my only thing on campus.
As I said, I'm involved in Floodwall and I'm also doing my internship there. And I'm also involved in Adelphi, the literary society on campus, and Black Studies project.
I'm currently involved in my sorority. I've held different positions, including e-communications and director of public relations. And I've been able to work with students as well as different alumni, working with adults and that kind of stuff to learn more about what those different fields have to offer has given me good opportunities.
What is your favorite part about being a communication and/or UND student?
I think just the variety that the department has to offer. There's not many classes that you take that are doing the exact same thing. They kind of build off each other. So you can take one thing and kind of directly apply it to the next class, which is fun. You can kind of see how they build off each other and how you get to use them and how you can use them in the future.
I think one of my favorite parts has been the size of our university. I have friends who have gone to much larger universities and express the frustration, maybe is the right word, of having to reintroduce yourself every time you go into office hours or anything like that. And I have never been in that position. Of course, you always introduce yourself at the beginning of the semester, but it makes for a really good opportunity to foster and maintain relationships with professors and other mentors you meet across campus.
Kind of going off what Myra said, there's a lot of opportunities within the department, such as this event today, as well as the mentorship program. And there's a lot of scholarship opportunities within the department. Kind of going off of the size, there's more available for the students, and there's a lot of resources provided by the professors in the department.
I'm with them on the professors. It does feel a lot smaller of a university, even though of how big we are. You're able to make really good relationships with a lot of the professors. Another thing I really like is the variability on classes, but also kind of the introductory level. When I went into some of the creative classes, like working with Adobe Illustrator or video production or things like that, I didn't have almost any experience going into it, but by the end, they didn't just kind of throw you into the deep end and like, oh, you should know how to do this. There was really kind of that helpfulness and like ability to learn and see if that's actually something you want to kind of pursue further.
How has the communication department prepared you for your future career?
I guess I kind of talked about it in my presentation, but just the experiences that I've been through, I think are, more so like job experiences, like even the classes, they're set up more kind of like an experience or like a job more than like a class. You're not going there and sitting and listening to a lecture for, the whole hour. You're doing stuff with a group or you're doing different work. So I guess just stuff like that.
I would agree. I think that my internship and being a teaching assistant have really taught me a lot, given my particular interest in teaching as a career. And I think I've really come to understand the workload that goes alongside with both of those, and also what is necessary to maintain relationships and communication and be effective in both of those positions.
I know Dryden spoke on it a little bit, but our advertising and PR campaigns class, being able to work with a real client, a local client, and work with sometimes a real budget, or put on events that you need to advertise to actually make them happen. You need to get students to come to them. I know when I did it, we were online because of the COVID-19 pandemic, but I know a lot of the other classes were able to throw like focus groups or bring people into like the fire safety events. So I think that's a really good experience to give people, like, rather than just, this is what it's going to seem like. While speaking with a professor, you're able to actually experience it.
Those of you that have been a teaching assistant, did you enjoy it, and what did you teach, or what did it teach you about communication?
Like I said, I was a teaching assistant for Dr. Lee in our capstone class, and I was able to get it because he reached out to me and asked me if I would like to work with him as a UTA for our capstone class. And I think one of the most rewarding things was helping students that were just like me on things that they may have been confused about, and I was probably confused about in the same situation as them, and be able to kind of work with them, especially in fields that I feel really comfortable in, which is like creating surveys, working on research, which was the premise of that class. I really enjoyed being able to work with them and see it, like, them start to understand it, kind of like I did in the same situation.
I was a TA for an online course, Comm 206, which was an Adobe Illustrator class with Dr. Jess Gowan. And it was a lot of fun. It was different than a traditional in-person classroom setting. You, by chance, are working with students who will never step foot on UND's campus. And so that was different than I'd expected, being in an on-campus situation and perspective. But it taught me a lot about I guess just teaching in general and having patience. And I mean, you get to do so much in a teaching assistant that you might not expect or have the opportunity to do in other majors. Like my English major, for example, teaching assistant is not an opportunity. So I'm very thankful for that. And also the mentorship that you get in working with the professor in a class that they're teaching and you're assisting them with is unmatched, in my opinion.
I guess I can speak on just being a student and having a TA a little bit. It is cool having someone your age in the classroom that you can go to for help at any time. It can be, maybe a little frightening or scary to go ask the teacher maybe the most minuscule question that you may think may make you look dumb, but I don't know, it's kind of cool and comforting to have someone your own age just in your classroom being able to help you. And like Alex said, he was my TA for the capstone. It's just cool being able to go to him and having him explain stuff to me in his way as a person that's gone through it recently. So
yeah, and I know I'm one of the students who hates to ask like small questions and like just very like due dates or other things around that thing. So I really like being able to reach out to a TA rather than a professor for the small things, because I'm a little more shy of a person. So that's kind of what I liked to be able to do as a TA.
Does the audience have any more questions for the panel?
So I lucked out with the 3M. My dad works there, but he actually wasn't the one who was able to kind of get me a step in the door. Some family friends we have that live right behind our house, their friend that also lived on the same street as them, she was the former head and she had retired previously. So I just kind of by chance was able to reach out to her, and I was able to just send her a text, and I set up a meeting at just a local restaurant, and I think we ended up talking for like 3 hours. But yeah, I prefer being face-to-face or in person, because especially after the whole pandemic, it just feels a lot more personal. And then she was able to refer me to the current head of PR, who I'm going to speak with next week, I believe. So mine kind of happened by chance.
I guess just kind of going off that, you got to use the connections you have. A lot of it's who you know. So I guess just kind of going off that, you want to use the people you know. So it might be easier to get a connection if you know their neighbor, your neighbor knows this person. So I guess going through the people you know is always a good thing. And then if you don't, LinkedIn, email, social media, anything you can do to get a hold of them. People are nice. If you're asking them in the right way, you're usually going to get a good response.
I'm currently in one of Dr. Lee's classes right now, and he has a few guest speakers come in a semester. Brittany is here today. And I think that gives the students a really unique opportunity for Dr. Lee to provide those connections and give them an opportunity to see what professionals are doing in a few years out of graduation. So I'm thankful for those opportunities as well.
Any more questions? How many communication alumni are in the audience? Perfect. Okay, I have some questions for you. So, what do you think about a communication major?
So raise your hand, show on the mic.
Do you want us to run mics around?
Raise your hand. Who's answering?
I think you guys all touched on the diversity of a communication degree being really unique. You can come into communication not exactly knowing what you want to do, and you have the opportunity to find your passion. The three of us sitting here do three very different things, but all are communication majors, right? And so you can have your specific passion, but these skills that you learn are so transferable and applicable in all these different fields. Even if it is advertising you like, maybe you're more into sports or you're more into the health side. There's so many unique places that you can go with a communication degree. I think it should be a required courses for everybody in college because you can just apply it everywhere. It's a degree for anybody.
Can we have everyone say their name and what year they graduated, just moving forward too?
So I'm Jenna. I graduated in 2001. Excuse me. It took me a few years to figure out what I wanted to do. I had three majors, business, and I couldn't do the economics part of it. I tried English and it just didn't feel right. When I found the communication department, I felt like I found my people. That's what I got excited about. That's when my grades became good. That's when I found a passion. And I've had a good career with a lot of opportunities that I would have never had without the communication department. So I'm glad to see it's thriving. And if you can learn how to communicate, you can do anything. So I would just say, stick with it.
My name is Megan. I graduated in 2016. Kind of going off that, I had several majors myself and didn't really know what I wanted to do. And the kind of running joke with my friends was communications was the throwaway major because, there's so much you can do. And it's like, if you don't know what to do communications. But I argue with that because I think that's what's great. Like what you said is that there's so much you can do with it. You can go the marketing route, the sales route, management and HR. There's so much you can do. And every skill you have that you gain in any job you have in those fields can be applied to the other one. So yeah, you kind of hear those things, but I really love the major for those reasons.
What advice or tips do you have for current communication students?
Hi, my name is Bree. I'm a 2019 graduate. I would say always ask questions and ask people if you can talk to them. If they say call them anytime, call them because it turns out they might have an opportunity for you Now I work for myself and I have different clients that I contract work for and do social media management. And it all became because I talked to the right person and I said, oh, hey, you know, I know them too, and kind of got connected, realized we knew other people and had mutual friends. And then here I got more and more opportunities, and now I can work for myself, which is something that I never thought would have been possible at my age. I thought it would be another 10 years before that happened. So if somebody says, ask me a question, ask them a question, just take their card and maybe contact them later. It doesn't have to be that day.
Hello, there we go. Okay, my name is Peter. I graduated in 2017. I think Peter mentioned it, the other Peter, I'm also Peter. He mentioned it in his presentation, just literally any opportunity, like just say yes and go for it. Like you can learn so much from doing. And I think just the more things you have under your belt, the more types of things, the more people you can meet, the more experiences that you have, the things that you try, even if you suck at it, like that's a huge learning experience for you that you can take something from. And when you do something else in the future, you can take what you've learned of how you failed in a situation, and then maybe next time it turns into success. So I think just any opportunity that comes up, say yes, try it. And that's essentially it for me. So.
What was your favorite part about being a communication student here?
Thank you. Hi, my name is Marissa. I graduated in 2017. My favorite part about being in the communication program was that we all loved to communicate, so we were all really close friends. And I loved walking into Merrifield every day and like seeing 10 people that I was friends with, and I enjoyed taking classes with everybody. So that's probably the best part about communications, is that you know interpersonal communication and you know how to interact with your colleagues, and you can network. You have a network right outside of college that you can connect with when you're looking for job opportunities and stuff. So yeah.
How has the UND communication department changed since you went here as a student?
So my name is Jessica Sobolik, and I graduated from the Comm program in 2002 with an undergraduate, and then I went back and got my master's in 2017. And my colleague John and I were back here just contemplating as we were looking at all the classes that you guys have been taking, digital. We did not have any of those opportunities when we were going to school, but hey, we're still making it work. We're learning. So I've heard a lot of talk here about being flexible, taking any opportunity. And I think that's what we continue to do in our careers, is always learning something new and being willing to do that. I wish I had a web class when I was here at UND, because I do that regularly. Social media, video production, all of those things are things that I'm doing today, but have learned along the way. So that's, to me, what's really changed. Yeah. Yes, a lot of times I felt like I was thrown out there and told just go for it. A little bit about my background. I went into print journalism, and I actually got my first job at the Grand Forks Herald by playing volleyball behind the quad in Squires Hall. So that's a job opportunity right there on the volleyball court. And went to the Herald, and they taught me how to, you know, get my computer turned on and logged in. And then the phone rang and they said, okay, go ahead, answer it. And okay, what do I do? Well, interview them, ask them about the volleyball game. They knew why they were calling. They said, just go for it and get the info. So you did. And then go to a hockey game or a basketball game. And I don't know anything about hockey. Well, just go and ask the coach to tell you everything that happened and write it down. So that was my learning process. And those work experiences were so valuable. So I think that's really important.
I'm sorry, I got to add to that because we've been talking during the presentation. My name is John Bernstrom. I graduated in 2001. Yes, those digital classes are awesome because I do it every day now because my boss said, John, figure this out. COVID is a good example. We never did Zoom. We didn't do any of that. COVID happened and I work for the city of Grand Forks now, and we had to do a council meeting. The city administrator looked at me and said, John, figure it out. And that was the end of it. So you're going to get a lot of that of your communications, which is really broad. I do website stuff every day. I do video production probably every day. I do social media every day. I didn't take any of those classes. So it's broad, and wherever you end up working, just say, yes, I'll figure it out. The internet's a wonderful thing. You can learn a lot on the internet, some of the technical stuff, but it is interesting. But along those lines, the classes I took, public speaking, best class I ever took at UND was public speaking. I got my first job as a result of that class, freshman year. Those things carry over. I worked in TV and now I work in government communications. It's amazing how much things intersect from a communication standpoint. So even though it's different, stick with it, because you know what, 10 years from now, it's going to be different again.
Anyone else?
Hello, I'm Lee. I'm the Dr. Lee students talk about. I found that today we have some the students' parents here, so I'd like to ask the students' parents their thoughts about communication major, or what they think about how they their kids are satisfied with the communication major or not. So can I ask that question? Could you? Yeah. I really appreciate the parents to be here to support their children. So
I was told very specifically not to speak today. So all I would say, I was a graduate in 1985 in business. So we came up to visit this little school in North Dakota where it's freezing cold 9 months out of the year. And she fell in love with it for some reason. I have no idea why. And her experience here, she complains about the weather when it's super cold, you know, everybody does that. But she's never complained about the school. And she really loves this program. And she goes on and on about you, Dr. Lee, and so many of our other professors. And that's what I've heard basically from everybody today. It's a really great school. And thank you for that. And thank you for taking care of my baby. Thanks.
Thank you. Is there any other parents here? Okay, yeah, thank you.
That concludes the current communication student panel session. Thank you for coming, and please remember to check out the student class showcase and the communication professional session also going on today in this room.